Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Mansfield School Building Committee, our November 16, 2023 meeting. Our first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Madison. Second, Kathy. Any corrections? Okay, then all in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate. Okay, Chris. Okay, any opposed or abstentions? Okay, that brings us then to the opportunity for public input. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the building committee? Seeing none, then we'll move on to the updates. Adam, I'll turn that over to you.
Yes, so I see Jeff's on. I don't see, looking at the attendees list, I don't see anyone from Newfield on. So just running through these quickly, want to give an update on the acoustics, the wood gym floor, and the cafeteria gate and the site poles. With regard to acoustics, we received some good news yesterday that the additional panels that were ordered for the cafeteria have shipped. Estimated delivery time is about 3 business days, so they should arrive early next week is the target. We'll obviously follow up on that, but just wanted to report back that there's at least some good timeliness in regard response to having those panels on site and getting them up. And Colliers has been working with Bill, trying to make sure he has all the data he needs to install them for the manufacturer's guidelines. So insofar as that's concerned, that's moving well. The panels to be tested.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Sorry, I didn't see.
What, in fact, has been put into the cafeteria as of now? I was in the cafeteria for an event and I was trying to figure out what, if anything, was new.
In terms of permanent panels or things of that nature, nothing.
Yes,
It's
none.
just what we've been talking about since the issue has come up and construction was complete, or that portion of construction was complete.
So are there panels now in one of the classrooms?
Not the panels that were procured. Let me qualify this. Each of the classrooms has a similar type of panel as in the cafeteria that has been painted. 2 classrooms have received supplemental felt panels that are not as robust, if you will. They don't provide the same level of acoustic reverberation reduction and NRC values. Those felt panels are supplementary, but not in all the rooms, just in 2 of the test rooms. And there have been good feedback from some of the teachers that those have been appreciated, but those aren't the same product as what's being ordered for the cafeteria.
Appreciated, or they're helpful?
I heard that they were helpful and they reduced the noise.
Adequately, or just a reduction?
I don't know that I can comment to the extent of whether or not it's satisfactory. I believe Bill Treach said that he had installed a few more, so suggesting that the initial wave wanted a few more of them, but they did make an improvement was my takeaway. So it was
I wonder if
testing what the additional component is.
Rich has a
Rich,
comment, and then we'll come back to Chris then.
Yeah. Rich and Kate.
From what I've heard, it's a noticeable improvement in those classrooms. We were talking last night as part of our staff meeting, and the teachers who in those grade levels that do not have them say that they notice an improvement when they walk into the classroom in that grade level that does have it. So just to put that out there.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Mark Reber, I've been hounding him since, when was it, last month, to get out there to take some measurements so that we can see what those numbers are. So I'm on him to get out there ASAP to do that.
Well, the ones in the cafeteria, I don't know if Bill or Alan has an idea how long it will take to put those things up. So it might be, and my point is that it might be worth him waiting until those are up to take more measurements.
Oops, I'm not quite for sure exactly what's entailed in putting them up, but we will try to get it done ASAP.
All right.
Hey, Alan, if you need my help at all initially, I can come over and meet with you and discuss strategy and how that's going to go together if you need it.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Just reach out, give me a call.
Okay, and then Chris, you had a comment or question?
Well, I was going to say if Rich or Kate was there to comment what their observations are would be helpful. Or Peter, in fact, perhaps he's been in there.
The question was, do the felt panels in the classrooms help? Richard thought that feedback was positive.
Yes. Feedback was a little slow at first. And again, I think that we may have had some expectation that it was addressing decibels. It really was to kind of mitigate some of the echo reverberation. And when people really compared rooms and they spent a lot of time going back and forth, they did hear a measurable difference in terms of what they were perceiving. Alan and his crew kindly ordered more, and we're working with staff to kind of identify additional spaces where the felt panels can go to just even maximize that effect. So each visit I go into, and I do notice it. My hearing isn't the best, and so I'm probably not the final answer on that. But the staff that works in the room, even the students have weighed in, and they say that there's an appreciable difference with the felt panels. So at this point, given how fairly easy this is, and it's an additional treatment that we seem to be able to manage, that we will just go ahead and start increasing the treatment in each of the main floor classrooms.
One follow-up or just clarification. Peter, there's to date no additional acoustical whatever ameliorative fixing has happened in the cafeteria. Is that correct?
That is correct, other than
Okay.
student work, some
Fine. Yep.
banners and things like that, but nothing
Yep.
official.
Okay, thank you.
And just for your update, Peter, the panels have shipped, should be here early next week. Okay. Okay, good. Then next item.
Next item is a wood floor at the gym. So we've been in contact with the installer who did the gym floor. The installers initially indicated they see some of the potential issues, obviously, and we're trying to coordinate them coming out during the winter break because what they'll have to do is they'll have to rip up some of the wood and place some of it and then refinish it all. So that'll take a few days to do. So we're coordinating with Principal McCoy and the installer about when that work can occur. Separately from that, today I issued a letter to Newfield with regard to the door sweeps. Chris Kiefner, that's that photo you sent me where there's the daylight coming through, and I think Bill Treach also had the photo. So that has been issued to Newfield. That should be a fairly straightforward, easy to resolve item comparative to wood and some of these other things, but that has been issued as of today.
Just for the committee, the sweep at the bottom of the door is not covering all the space underneath the door. And so there's potential for drafts, moisture, et cetera, to come through.
You can see daylight if you're in the gym looking outside.
Yeah. Yes, that's right where the moisture is. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, can you this ripping up the floor? How many square feet are we talking about?
That's the question. So part of it is they need to come out and identify how much needs to be taken back to get to sound material and ensure there's nothing more damaged underneath the door frame because of the moisture. So it's not intended to be half the gym or anything like that. But if it's 4 square feet, that's a different duration and timeline than if it's 20. So that's part of the investigation they'll need to do when they come out.
I'm wondering also about considering alternative answers there. I don't know how close it is to the play area, to the gym field, so to speak, but it might be appropriate to use a different material rather than wood right at the door. This has been a wood versus nature, so to speak, issue from the beginning versus design. And I'm wondering, are there can we undo this problem so we can simply avoid the problem of damaging wood in a place where wood is going to get damaged by not having wood there?
Jeff can maybe comment on that. I know that part of it, at least from the project standpoint, is to resolve the scope as it was installed, but I understand your point as well. So I don't know if Jeff has thoughts. for
Yeah, I mean, I think my initial thought when I saw all this going on, I thought, let's get a walk-off mat or some sort of walk-up
Yeah.
roll-off thing in there right away to prevent it from getting worse. But I think the strategy that Adam, has been working on, I think is good. There was a submittal that did show how the threshold worked that came from the contractor. So I think once they do that, and if you have some sort of walk-off mat, that will kind of mitigate any future things. The thing that I started thinking about, and I know that the user uses their schools in different ways, but I think our intention was never to really use the Parks and Rec baseball field. So that exit, as Steve Bucheria had mentioned before, that was primarily an egress door since it's not a vestibule. So I think the thinking was to come out through the other two vestibules so they have walk-off mats on them that you can wipe your feet off before you come in and out. And since the playgrounds are always to the south and southwest, that was sort of the idea of how the gym class would be going out to the playground. So I think in this case, given that the user's using it slightly differently, which is fine, but I think the desire to get a walk-off mat there in front of that single door would be a great idea after the thing is fixed.
So having a mat there might be a solution, but I did circle back with Principal McCoy and some of them, and they're not using that en masse. I mean, regardless, it's an exterior door. You should be able to use however you generally use it. However, to your point about having classes go out and having this mass traffic, that's not the case. It's just basically one person going in and out. So that shouldn't result in water coming in and ruining the floor.
So then there's something else going on then with water coming through those sweeps or something, because that gym floor is kind of warping. But anyway, I think if they get to they probe, they open it up, figure it 2 feet, 3 feet back to redo everything, and then get a proper threshold per that submittal that overlaps the top of the wood floor, is the first step. So to keep it from, warping any further. And I think having that gap and having the ends exposed is what's going on. So I guess we have to just wait for the guy to come and decide how far he has to go back and dry it out and redo what he needs to do to brace that floor from going, further into the warping or sagging or anything else.
Okay, Kate had her hand up, and then Pete, then Ryan, sorry.
The conversation progressed. I just want to be clear, I guess, in the effort of helping future design, if the thought was that a PE class would be exiting through a cafeteria, that probably is an ill thought out design, because they would have to be walking through tables to get outside, and PE classes go in and out. So for future designs, consider that possibly.
Well, I'll just clarify that the cafeteria is a multi-purpose space that the previous superintendent had, with her input, and everybody thought would be a nice way to do a cafeteria in a sort of multifunctional space. So there is a path along the edge there that is intended for traffic, whether it's egress or gym classes, to go out to use the playgrounds to the south and southwest.
Okay, Ryan.
Hey folks, coming to you live from a car on my way into an open house to welcome our new library director. So this may be coming up on the agenda. Don't want to jump the shark, but just since I'm going to have to cycle off for my own edification, I wanted to ask about, and I don't know what the right term is, but having seen the areas we're talking about now firsthand and taking my own pictures of the sweeps and the warping and the cupping right by the entrance, I know that throughout the gym, and we noticed it up by the stage, I think right where like the expansion joints maybe are, there also seem to be some dips and waves there as well. So I don't know if there was any initial thoughts about what was the cause there. And then the second thing was, because I don't know if this has necessarily been raised by anybody else yet, but just as you go along the outside, well, on the inside of the gym, but the outer edge of the wall, where the wall meets the floor, where there's that kind of, whatever it is, a rubber plastic trim. I'm not sure if it's moved over time or if it kind of got installed in kind of a haphazard way, but there's just a lot of gaps, a lot of lips and edges and buckles there. And I'm trying to remember, from months and months ago, like back in the spring when it was opening, if I recalled what it looked like and if there's any changes, but it's definitely, it does not have a very finished, nice, neat, clean look, I guess. So just to point that out. Maybe it's more of an aesthetic issue than the gym floor and the performance issues that could be experienced there, but does not look great in my mind.
So I can speak to both of those. So with regard to expansion joints, the initial take from the installer was that it was part of the installation process. However, the gaps, when they come out and to do the follow-up, those gaps may be larger than intended, causing some of that perceived valleying or whatever at the expansion joints. So I know that there's been other projects that Collier's been a part of where you could do some proof rolling or whatnot to help settle out some of those joints and alleviate some of the valleying. But the concern at the exterior door where there's moisture infiltration and causing warping, it appears isolated from the actual expansion joint issue within the field of the floor, so to speak. But regardless, we can bring that up with the installer when they come out to look at the main issue at the exterior door. With regard to the baseboard, I'm assuming you're talking about either the cove trim or the base or whatnot.
Correct. Yeah, that baseboard trim, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, that we can look at that the next time we're assembling the list of warranty items as part of the upcoming 12-month warranty list. And if it's something that's not as intended, then that can go on the list for items to be addressed.
Yeah, it just seems like in some cases, they might be even borderline like tripping hazards. They're like kind of the pronounced lips I'm seeing. So thanks.
Okay. Then the gate.
With regard to the gate, coordinated with Bill, those repair items are forthcoming and they've been ordered, and once they come in, they can come in to resolve that second issue again with the gate where it was fixed and then broke again, and now it's basically the dimensionally needs to be adjusted to fit the tracks. So the parts to address the dimensions are coming in. So I'll keep you posted on that and once that's resolved.
On the gate stuff,
Yeah.
is it the same part that's been giving us trouble? Is it?
It's the
Or
width,
is it
my understanding is
different?
that's the width of the gate itself should have been some amount shorter than it was. So that's why it was binding up at the tracks, is because it's a little wider. So they need I'm not a gate installer, but basically
Gotcha.
50%
Okay.
goes with this. Yeah.
So it's fixable. I was just wondering if it was a particular component that kept on breaking, and that tells us another problem. Okay, thanks.
And the last component is the site poles. Again, I don't see anyone from Newfield here. I was hoping they'd be on to be able to address that, so I'll circle back with them about timing for the site pole replacement because it's been a little while, and if they have them on stock, it should be something that can be installed soon.
Okay, yeah, Peter.
I was just wondering about the stone caps for the stone wall. Where are we with that?
So the stone caps were in Newfield's scope of work. We addressed them, asking them when they were going to be installing it. They have subsequently said that is they believe it's no longer part of their scope because they've demobilized from the job, and therefore the prior understandings don't apply, is my takeaway from what they've mentioned. So the short answer to your question is there's nothing scheduled. This is getting added to the list of items to be brought up as part of the forthcoming legal discussions over the next weeks.
So I just I wonder, this feels like a smaller project that maybe we consider a different route. Just knowing that we're heading into the winter freeze thaw cycle, so forth. I don't know potential damage to that wall, but having a similar stone wall on my property, I find a lot of rocks in the springtime that have been pushed out, and so I just wonder whether the capstone has some integrity issue piece to that wall system.
You're not wrong with regard to stone walls and masonry and mortar and freeze thaw cycles, and that's the whole point of the capstone. So to that point, I have brought that discrete issue up with town legal counsel and determining if there's a way to break that out as part of a an owner proceeding with the work. Not yet heard back from them. I do have a upcoming meeting about a number of topics, so I plan to bring that up because I think your point is valid that this is a nice isolated one that might prove good to target to resolve sooner rather than later.
Also, Adam, I believe that whole pathway around the back of the building is an emergency access. So fire trucks or police, if they need to get back in there. So if that stuff is in the way of that path, it's not good. We should probably move that stuff.
I think it's off to the side. The actual stones that were delivered, they were put nicely up against the fence, so I don't think it's on the actual fire lane in the way. So I
I
think
should just double check that though.
Rich, did you have a question, comment?
Guys beat me to it. I was going to talk about capstones and where they were located and all that, but we're all set. Thanks.
Okay. All right, other questions or other items?
Randy, if I may, Scott Hellman
Yeah,
from
go ahead.
Colliers, just like to give a quick update on the commissioning.
Right.
They're scheduling, the commissioning agent is scheduling a kickoff meeting for the heating season commissioning, which is starting November 29th. We're still waiting for a number of reports from them. They have been working on the energy management and feedback. There was one of the electrical panels that they were having trouble getting the information out of. They're also doing some trend data, looking at some of the current historical power utilizations versus what the target was in the EUI. So that's being evaluated. We created a spreadsheet that we've been coordinating with Principal McCoy. Specifically, that was created during the cooling season. I believe the majority of those issues that were identified have been resolved. There was one issue on the system switchover from cooling to heating mode. We've addressed that with the commissioning agent and the controls contractor. So I do think we are making progress. We're still waiting for the final feedback on performance of the building, but there's still some systems that they're monitoring to be able to develop those reports.
Tony?
Just a quick question, since I don't really understand the commissioning process, what does making progress on commissioning mean?
There was a number of control issues and the way that some of the units were functioning, balancing issues that were causing noise, comfort issues for the occupants. Specifically, a lot of those were in the cooling season. So they go in, the commissioning agent works with the controls contractor, the mechanical contractor, and they start looking at the performance of the systems. Are they performing as designed? And they start making modifications to make sure that the system is functioning properly, which has alleviated at least the initial cooling season issues. The majority of those have all been addressed. So now they're getting into the heating performance of the building, and we'll be doing a similar process, making sure that the heating system is functioning as designed, all the rooms are comfortable, thermostats are providing the proper feedback, proper ventilation is required, etc.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions then, we can move on with the agenda.
there's one other
Something
thing I
else.
wanted
Oh, yeah,
to-
go ahead, Adam.
One other thing I wanted to bring up about, it's just as I was thinking about it last night. The end of the year is coming up. I don't know that it's appropriate to address at this meeting because it wasn't on the agenda. But just for future content, the SBC schedule for 2024 is something I think probably needs to be resolved at the upcoming meeting. So
Right.
again, food for thought.
Because I think that has to be voted on before the end of the year. Right, okay,
So we got no action, just
right. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is PCO or procurement review. We don't have any PCOs tonight.
nope.
And then we can move on to the project invoice.
Share the screen here. So we have 6 invoices for this evening. Commissioning agent, Colliers, a wrap-up FF&E invoice from Insalco. The work was done a while ago. They just misplaced this particular invoice. And there are a number of other invoices that they have outstanding that I have not yet received. But point being is that the work is done and installed, so it's appropriate to pay out. SLR, who is the traffic agent doing the follow-up post-occupancy study. They've done the traffic counts and the report should be forthcoming in a week or so. So that's a partial payment against theirs. TSKP and Weston Sampson, the stormwater monitoring agent, for a total of $40,042.52.
Any questions? Chris?
Can you just kind of highlight TSKP's activities? They've been primarily doing this acoustic stuff. Is that what's going on? What are the main heavy hitters in their budget draw?
For this invoice and for the prior invoice, yes, the acoustic study was a key focus with Jeff developing that scope and working with the vendors there, as well as review of some of these outstanding issues as it pertains to the potential warranty claims against Newfield or otherwise resolving some of the ongoing work. So to your point, the lion's share of this particular invoice would be the acoustic work. But that's the other component of it is there's ongoing construction administration as we work through the issues and items.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, is there a motion regarding the invoices? Mary?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the invoice packet dated today, November 16th, including invoices from CES, Colliers Project Leaders, Insalco, SLR, TSKP, and Weston and Sampson for a total approval of $40,042.52.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second by Madison. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. Yes. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, so then that's unanimous. All right, then that brings us to adjournment.
Randy, if there's one other item just on as a
sorry.
side I can mention.
Go ahead, Ed.
So no action item for the group here, but in about a month-ish, I'll be taking some leave for paternity leave, having my first son here in a little bit. So if you see Scott more frequently than usual, that's part of the reason, so he can provide some coverage while I'm out for a number of weeks. So
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Congratulations, man. You're going to be a great dad.
thank you.
I thought for a second the kid's name was Scott, but okay.
And that would give him such a big head, I wouldn't dare do that.
And with that news, I'd like to move we adjourn.
Okay, thank you. Chris moved to adjourn, second
I'll
by
second.
Mary. All in favor? Thank you, and we'll see you next time at presumably our regular meeting in December.
All right,
Thank you, Randy.